Happy Friday, everybody, or whatever time of the week it is for you. We're going to be talking about fraud in this gig harbor market update. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about how to protect your money when it comes to buying some property that people have lost millions of dollars on. So this is a great advice if you don't want to put your money at risk. So let's get into the news that you can use before you lose your shoes. Let's go. This latest scam started around November of last year, and it involves vacant or unencumbered land. And what happens is that the scammer poses as the owner of the property and then goes up to a real estate agent and says, "Hey, I would like to sell my property." Scammers don't like to show their face, so the only communication that they'll have with the real estate agent is through digital means. And their excuse is usually, "Oh, I'm out of town," or "I'm out of the state and I can't be bothered to come into your office and talk," or have a Zoom meeting or a Skype or a video chat, right? For some reason that's just too hard. And they say, "You know what, I want to sell this as soon as possible, so can we please put it under the market value to drive up offers and interest in this property, and then hopefully get a cash offer, because well, what's easier than closing, vacant land than with cash?" So of course the real estate agent says, "Yes, of course, that makes sense. Let's do exactly that." And that's how easy this scam is, really. And it's gotten to the point that the Secret Service has now issued an alert that we're going to go over here, and that outlines this scheme pretty well here. So this is from the government. All right. The criminal searches public records to identify real estate that is free of mortgage or other liens and the identity of the property owner. These often include vacant lots or rental properties. The criminal poses as the property owner and contacts a real estate agent to list the targeted property for sale and requests it being listed below current market value to generate immediate interest. The criminal, posing as the property owner, demonstrates preference for a cash buyer and quickly accepts an offer. The criminal, posing as the property owner, refuses to sign closing documents in person and requests a remote notary signing. The criminal, or a co-conspirator, also impersonates the notary and provides falsified documents to the title or closing attorney. The title company or closing attorney unwittingly transfers the closing proceeds to the criminal. All communication is in electronic and not in person. So, and then it says here, this scheme particularly affects elderly and foreign real estate property owners, but it's not limited. So that's the warning from the Secret Service. Now, the one thing that this Secret Service alert leaves out is that people have gotten wise to this notary scam. So what these fraudsters or criminals have been doing is they've been creating their own title companies. So in a normal contract, and when you have a trustworthy title company will do research on the seller and make sure that everything is copacetic. However, that allows some room for the criminal to be discovered. This way, by creating a fake title company, the buyer just wires their money to the title company, no digging ever gets done, and basically the money goes to escrow, but it's gone. You wire it and it's gone and just went into the criminal's account, right? So it doesn't even go into a third party that can be trusted. Now that you know how the fraud works, we're going to look at how to prevent it. So the first thing we're going to look at here that's on the screen is what's released by the Secret Service, and that's I think tailor-made for real estate agents, both buyers and seller agents. And then we're going to look at how I would, as a consumer, protect myself just doing a initial pass at looking at a property. Okay, here we go. Independently search for the identity and the recent picture of a property seller. Request an in-person or virtual meeting to see their government-issued ID. So yeah, get a photocopy of the person you're working with. Be on alert when a seller accepts an offer below market value in exchange for receiving the payment in cash and or closing quickly. Never allow a seller to arrange their own notary closing, and use trusted title companies and attorneys for the exchange of the closing documents and funds. So that's that. All right, let's quickly then go over what I would do. The kind of the red flags that I see. So the first thing I would look at if I was looking at some property is I would first see who the owner is, and then I would go to the public information and then look up their mailing address. Are they local? Are they out of state? Or out of the country? Yada yada yada. Because if they are out of state or something like that, then it's a kind of a red flag that, oh, somebody could be using this property unbeknownst to the owner as the scam, right? So look at that first. And then ask the listing agent if they've seen their ID. You just ask me, hopefully me, to say, hey, Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, have you actually looked at the ID and do you have a photocopy it for your seller? And if they don't, let's go get it, right? There's no harm, no foul. So if there is no for sale sign, it could be also the fraudsters avoiding to attract attention from the neighborhood or from the owners themselves. Because if it's a for sale property, it's not like there's gonna be a queue of people outside, right? It's just gonna be one or two cars kind of stopping and looking around. So it's a little harder to know if that land is for sale. Also be wary of properties listed below market value for cash only, especially if they accept a cash only below market, because if there's enough attention, they're going to want the highest offer, right? I mean, a normal person would say, oh yeah, let's have a bidding war. If we're doing under market value, let's have a bidding war. But if they just accept the first cash offer, then that's a kind of a warning sign. Never allow the seller to arrange their own notary closing. We covered that already. And make sure that the title company is legit. If you are uncomfortable, or if I'm uncomfortable with the title company, I will write in my own title company, regardless of what the seller is asking. I'll use one that I know is legit. So those are some ways to prevent, losing your shorts. All right, now with that said, let's look at how I would identify who the property owner is. If you don't know how to do that, I'll do that here now with you for a couple of properties. All right, let's pretend I was looking for some property. I see $1.6 million. Oh, that sounds tempting. Is this somebody trying to get rich, or is this a legitimate person? So one way you can do it, so I'll do it the public way. So you can just take the address, and we just go to my property. And yes, we say yes, we site address, we plug in the site address, we search, and bada bing, bada boom, here we go. Here's our parcel number. And let's look where these owners live. So assessor's data, and that'll say exactly who owns this property and everything. So we go to Hanson, Todd, and Lori Garcia, mailing addresses in Gig Harbor. So I suspect that this is legitimate, right? Like their mailing address, like they're there. If they go past the property and see a for sale sign on it, they're gonna say what, right? And they're really easy to get a hold of. There should be no reason why the selling agent can't say, hey, seller, can we just meet at the property, right? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Now, what happens if we have a property that has doesn't have an address on it? Like you'll find some properties that, let's see. I know that okay, sometimes there's a property with a 0 in front of it, like this one. It says 0/125th. Like, how do you look up this, right? Well, what's easy for me is I can just take the Northwest MLS number. I can go to the matrix, plug that in, wait for a few seconds. Okay, let's see who it is. And we have William, Sandra, Greenheck, and Gig Harbor. So that's a good sign that these people are indeed local owners and they're not trying to commit fraud. So that's an easy way if you don't know the exact address. Because how do you plug it in? Like if you did this and you went to a property search, that's just curious what happens, right? But I don't think this is gonna. So if you do have the tax parcel number, it'll help you out too. Let's see. Curious to see if that worked. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Dum-ba-dum-dum. Unknown. Yeah, so this doesn't work at all, right? So you're like, what is this? Doesn't make any sense. Now that's a good way to have me or whoever you're using, hopefully me, to look up if the owners are legit. So anyway, that was the way that I look up if a parcel is fraud or not. So at least the first take on it, just to get a good reading on it. So with that said, I bid you a good weekend or a good week whenever you're watching this. So catch you next week.